What a journey. Here we go.
A journey, just cruising through special needs on our way to 1,000. It is July. It's not even July. It's August. My gosh, August 2nd. The year. It's 2024. Welcome aboard, everybody. You're listening to the Crushing Iron podcast. This is episode 786.
Yes, it is. And it's feeling good on a Friday.
Feeling good. I know. Sometimes I love these Friday casts. It's a celebration of the week that has been done, the week that has been worked, heading into what I know is probably a fairly significant weekend for many athletes. With it is a compared to the last weeks, it's a fairly lonely racing weekend for most everybody, and then things pick up pretty big time here on the third week of August with Louisville, and then after that, it's full gas in the year. So a lot of people getting out there, a lot of people training, a lot of long rides, a lot of long runs. Probably even a tremendous amount of irresponsible brick workouts. And that'll be done this weekend, and that will dwarf in comparison to the amount of comments and Training Peaks that talk about how hot it is outside. Yes, it's toasty. It's August. That's what we signed up for.
And I love it, dude. I know I'm in the north. It was 90 though the last couple of days here. I mean, that's pretty hot for not being used to 90.
You just got to tell me,
I love it, man. You know what I did yesterday? A Monogetti, just for the fuck of it. Just to do it.
Just to say that I did it. I love me. I went out and played Wednesday. We'll talk about this in a minute, but Wednesday morning I got up at 3:30 to watch the women's and men's Olympic triathlon. I'll talk about that in a minute. So it was a really, incredibly long day, and I don't nap. So there was no naps being taken place. It was just a long day of work, but watched the men's and women's Olympic triathlon. And then went and played tennis at 6. It feels like 107 with a dew point of 76.
You're alive, man. You're alive.
I was told, yeah. And I just went out there and said, I survived. I had fun. It's dripping sweat, but I love it. That's the one thing that I love about the summer is it's like the amount of sweat that comes out. It's like you can visibly see your hard work. And I love that versus the winter time. You can head out for an hour and 15-minute run. You come back and your beard's frozen, and that's all you got. No sweat. Period. No humidity. No. Dew point. That's not even something you even mention in the single digits. Maybe temps are perfect. You worked hard, but yeah. Listen. I love it. I love the sweat. I love the heat, and being really hot is just a mindset. So yeah, it's that time of year.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, man, I'm convinced that a large portion of our health is all about eliminating toxins. And there's nothing better than a good sweat to get some of that crap out of you, right?
I'm telling you, man. Sugar.
I just believe that,
I genuinely believe. And I was even two physicians basically confirmed this to me earlier this week when we were having a kind of a little chat. And I said, they said, really doesn't matter what genetics you have. Yes, that's part of it, but pretty much what you do or don't do or what you eat or don't eat either throws gasoline on it or subdues it. And they said, if you could just get rid of sugary drinks alone, that'd probably solve half the world's problems.
Yeah.
The amount of sugar people take in these days and Monster energy drinks, they suck down 5 a day. It is kind of insane. What we take in. But yeah, here I am sipping on my cup of coffee with a little bit of coconut oil in there. And ready to have a good cast.
What's happening to you?
A lot, I know, right? I'm totally softening up, man. Totally,
you probably got Ben Greenfield's book on the counter now. Just reading, flipping through it.
Love it. It's a great little taste. Since I've given up artificial sweeteners, I like to stuff a little bit something in there, and I like it. It's a nice little savory thick taste. It's become like my mid-morning snack instead of going having breakfast and a snack then lunch. It's kind of like my last little pick-me-up before I shut the coffee off for the day, and it's been good. I like it. It's nice. It's smooth. And you know what, the fact that it's coconut is a little bit tropical, so I'm just over here on a Friday sipping on my coconut, it's like a
little coconut oil. Is it
yeah, it's just coconut oil, man.
Yeah, I like to rub that on my skin for good measure.
Yeah, great. That's going to tarnish the rest of this cup of coffee, picturing you lathering up your skin.
Not like sweating on a Monogetti with coconut oil pouring out of my arms, my armpits.
They could probably smell you from like 2 streets away in the subdivision too. They're like, man, is somebody having a luau outside?
This is tropical day.
Oh my gosh, hilarious. We got quite a few things to go over today. We'll cover the Olympics quickly, and then Olympic triathlon, that is, and we'll hop into knock off some of our questions. But be sure to tuning in today. Welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have quite a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general. Time is very valuable, so we appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We do swim, bike, and run specific podcasts. We do race recaps and also a lot of race previews. For the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, we just sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through in life, not just as human beings, but also as coaches and athletes ourselves. We also like to talk frequently about what our own athletes are going through. He and I work with a wide range of athletes all across the globe, from beginner level athletes looking to do their very first 5K or sprint triathlon, all the way up through elite level amateurs trying to get back to world championships, and everything in between all over the globe. We use the feedback loop we have with them and Training Peaks, emails, text messages, and the like to drive the discussion of the day. We also like to utilize our fantastic Facebook group. You can search that, Crushing Iron Group. Answer multiple question, and let you right in. Awesome people, fantastic community, and a solid resource. And we go in there about every, 3 to 7 weeks, give or take. Do a little bit of a Q&A, take the pulse of the community, get as many questions answered as we possibly can here on the podcast. But that is it. We have no sponsors and we have no ads, but we do have an important agenda, and that's to do our best to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
Yeah. How's that going out there? Hey, I got a question.
Yeah, how is it going?
I got a question. Oh, we're going to go into the Olympics, and I'll just set it off with this question.
All right, set it off.
How would you like it if, you're training for a race for all year, and then like the day before or whatever it was, they said, yeah, we're just going to push it back a day. How would that impact your mindset?
So it's hilarious you asked this, because that's actually, I had 3 emails specifically asking to add that question to the list today. How would you mentally and physically, right? Because you talk about these athletes, like I was trying to explain to Hayden the day before, I think we're watching swimming. I was like, these athletes train for 4 years. And yes, they race or they have other competitions or games, whatever it may be. But it's a 4-year cycle. This is it. Could last as short as, 7 or 8 seconds or hours. And so for, tapering is such a huge part of everything that we do in sport, high performance sport, right? And so I thought that was like the first thing I thought of when the men's race was postponed. Was I wonder how these coaches are adjusting the tapering, because you have it really. I mean, a lot of them probably also like scheduled when they came down from altitude to perfectly align with the day of the race, and now it's a day afterwards. And I think it's an interesting conversation. My first thing I thought of was, you don't want to do too much, right? But I would probably veer towards getting out and doing a bigger workout than you had the day before, right? Because you had scheduled, the day before the race was supposed to happen, you had a lighter workout, and then you were ready to go rip it, right, to peak for an hour and 40 minutes, hour and 35 and change, depending on who did it. So you're tapered for a day where you're going to be redlining it for an hour and 45 minutes. So I actually would have gotten, if I'm out there coaching Olympic athletes, I would have had them go out there for probably 30 to 40 minutes with a good chunk of threshold work to kind of get my mindset. Definitely wouldn't have them, doing anything longer than that. But really, I think it's just staying in the zone and staying focused. And he had all the extra chaos and stuff going on with the water quality and how that's getting into people's heads. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting how the whole thing played out. And then you got, some athletes and federations are incredibly quiet leading into the race. And I think everybody kind of expected and for I thought the women's race I thought it was great to see the French woman win. I think it's always pretty cool to see someone win on their home soil. That had like all the French stuff in the background. I think to her it's a life defining moment to have that and have everything in the backdrop. And I thought the race itself was a little bit boring, but to see Bogard, I think is Bogrand, how you say her name. To have her see her win, she pretty much did it running away, in my opinion. We're shocked to see some of the Americans and up to closer to the front. But 6 seconds in ITU is like a minute and a half in Ironman racing. So they weren't disrupted, at all. Their race went on pretty normal. And then you got, it's I don't know. I'm gonna try not to get too derailed here, but I can't not mention how much propaganda and marketing the Norwegians have done the last two and a half years about changing how everybody trains, and pushing out things like Christian Blumenthal's highest VO2 max ever recorded in the history of recording VO2 maxes. And they do everything better, and then they're always smarter, and they're doing everything next level. And he goes out and gets 12th and just gets blown away. And you got a guy like Hayden Wild who'd run off the front that even Bloomfield said he couldn't even keep up with, who 7 years ago was doing landscaping and mountain biking. I mean, it's like it's the and I think it also is fascinating that if the COVID cancellations had never happened, right? And 'cause I think both the Blumenfeld and Eden got a huge bump from whatever they did during COVID, when there wasn't any racing on, the Olympics were pushed back a year. If the Olympics hadn't, and it's just kind of a good little I think exercise for everybody to not hop on a, it was funny. Somebody posted, a coach of mine said, when Blumenfeld got 12th, and he said, and now thousands of age groupers who have been attempting to test their own lactate all throw their strips in the trash can, because they got on this huge lactate testing train that all the Norwegians, because they knew everything that was going on and everything that was better than everybody else. It's all marketing, man. And I always go back to, again, if the Olympics hadn't been pushed back a year in Tokyo, would he have probably won? No. And if the Ironman World Championships weren't in St. George, because they would have been in Kona because of COVID, he probably wouldn't have won that either, because he got third the following year when he was in better shape. Then what are we saying now about him as one of the greatest ones ever, and how that changes, how a lot of, age groupers who want to copy and paste what's marketed out there, what's done. It's fascinating to me, that whole dynamic that you can, and just how you can talk about and say you have all the science and the best resources, and you're spending, the best money, and you've got tech and training that is beyond, what anybody else has. And then you go out there and get your ass handed to you, and by people who are a lot quieter. And I'm sure this podcast will go great over in Norway, but it's just fascinating. I mean, I love it. I love Hayden Wild, and I loved how he raced. He's lost to Alex Yee twice this year already in a sprint finish. So when I saw him go for it, my first thought was, this is his only shot to win, because he knows he can't run he doesn't have the sprint speed to beat Yee. It's proven that all year long. And I actually picked Wild, then Yee, then I had Pearson, which was kind of a homer pick being an American, but I just wanted to see Wild win. And he led, and he went for it. He went for the win, and that was his only play. And Yee, to his credit, everyone wrote him off. And he even said, I think, or what I read was that he felt like shit the entire run until like the last half mile. And you could see it. And the fact that the times they're running is just, it's insane. I thought the swim did play a huge role in it, because Yee made the front pack. He had an amazing swim. They swim against the current a little bit for both, obviously, the men's and women's race. Taylor Knibb had a shockingly poor swim. You don't know if for all the crashes she had at the TT played into that. But Wild and Blumenfeld were the ones leading the second pack, and I think he just had to burn too many biscuits to make up. I think it was like a 35 to 40 second gap from the first pack that Yee was in, where he got to sit in a lot and rest, versus Wild and Blumenfeld were burning a lot of energy. And then I think it hurt Wild at the end. But even then, I think Yee would have pipped him. But I just like Hayden Wild's story in general. I just think it's fascinating. I think age groupers should take a lot from this. So you get a guy again like Hayden Wild, who was, I think 7 years ago, he was a landscaper and did some mountain biking, and now he's the fastest. I mean, one of the second fastest runner in triathlon in the world, and was dusting people who have been doing this for 15 years that supposedly have all the biggest and greatest tech gadgets. And then, like, as a side note, I was watching the U.S. men's rowing team won their first gold in forever. I was watching their interview, and they're out there doing it, and they said, when I think when New Zealand was catching up to them, they started yelling out "red, red," which was a color based on effort, and how they're not like, raise your heart rate 5%, up the watts to 20%. It was a color based on RPE. And I think just a reminder of how we can there's so much marketing and gadgets and tech that we should always remember that it is marketing for profit, not necessarily that it has to be that way. And I was listening to a podcast earlier today. Again, I swear I'm going to shut up in a second, from Dan Lorang. So the coach of Taylor Knibb, the coach of Lucy Charles Barkley, the coach of Jan Frodeno, the coach of Annie Haug, who, quick stat, at PTO 100 London this last weekend was the first time she's missed a podium in 5 years.
Drawing board. Go back to. Are they just going to keep going, right? Man?
So think that. And he said if he had to choose between going with heart rate or power, he would choose heart rate. And this is a guy who's the performance director for a Tour de France team. So I just think it's a great time to circle back with every athlete all the time about RPE, heart rate, effort. There are no magic pills. There is no, better than ever tech. There is no, hidden package or hidden training you can do or special sauce. It's just hard work, consistency, and communication. And you can market it all you want to, like a lot of these athletes do, where they push products and ketones and gadgets and sponsorship. But as age groupers, you work hard, you're consistent, you do the right things, you act the right way, and a lot of times that's your fastest rate at the top.
Well, yeah, it sounds like you're passionate about that. We did go off the rails a little bit there, but I like it, of course. I do think that, the Blumenfeld stuff and all that, the marketing, the testing, all that kind of stuff, that's just so high end. And these, we talk about swimmers swimming 20, 30,000 yards a week to go for 100. It's just, it's the highest of high, try and get an advantage. I think that's what everybody's looking for. And most of us, 95+% of us, shouldn't even listen to that shit. We should just get to work. And, I've talked about it many times, but out of all the Ironman races I've done, I think I've more or less gotten off the bike feeling similar. And my better races, I've just, for whatever, had more mental energy in the tank for the run and to get through the pain, because it's always there on some level, and some days it affects you more than others. And I just think that, it's just a matter of, so much of it's a mindset. And if you've done the work, you got to do the work. And that's what you said, and be consistent with it. And just, that stuff just drives me crazy, really. I mean, it's like, yeah, you watch any kind of, like, all that Tour de France stuff was all about ketones, all the recap, ketones. Maybe, that's just the thing. What was it 5 years ago? I don't know, but we all want to fall for that. And I think it really boils down to, like, spending more time on the roller or something like that. It's like, for me, that's what I've been thinking about a lot lately, is like, I feel that inflammation and all these types of things. Of course, we don't want to feel that, but, like, what are you doing prepping wise? What are the little things you're doing to make yourself feel good? Are you getting the work in? Does it feel good? I mean, we're all fighting a battle, man. Like, it's, and, the other thing is like, some of these people, like, I wonder sometimes, like with a Blumenfeld or these guys that kind of peak up for a few days, like a year or something like that, if they're just like burning it so hard that it takes a toll, like, what's the fine line between longevity and just having a couple good years, Those are the things I think about too, because most of us are in this just to feel good and be happy and healthy and keep doing the sport, Sure, I suppose if I just wanted to burn everything I had for 1 year, I might perform better, but then I would probably never even want to get on a bike again,
Well, and again, I'm not going to try and derail us too much, but what you said was spot on to another conversation I had with the coach a couple of weeks ago, which was that you, as amateur athletes, which we are, we should be in the sport for decades, right? We should be in the sport for decades. I've been in it for over a decade. You've been pretty much in it for a decade. Like we're more concerned with our overall health accompanying our journey along this, what we do for training over decades. Because I would 100% bet, and I think there's even been research that these high performance athletes and triathletes, cyclists, what they do and what they put in their body at the highest level to be at the peak for 3 to 4 years, I'm just saying right now, it's not healthy. It's not healthy. And I mean, I was watching a video with Magnus Dentlev, and he was like, what do you eat after this? He's like, I eat 2 bowls of pasta and this and this. And he's like, it's probably not what most people would, probably not the healthiest thing in the world, but it's what I need to get through this. And what the bad part is amateur athletes see this and they think, oh, well, going out after a long ride or run, I should go out and eat 2 whole pizzas or, 5 Cokes, or it's a license to eat like shit. And the problem is most of these athletes, even like going up to the, I would argue even going up to the 120, 150, 60 grams of carbohydrates an hour, all the sugar you're putting in your body from such a short span of life with these high performance athletes. Now you get age groupers who are doing it, who are going to be doing this for, not months, right? Or a span of like 2 to 3 years trying to be at the top level. Again, gigantic difference in the athletes trying to make it to the Olympics and be at the pinnacle of their sport in the world versus you're just trying to win your age group in your local sprint try. But there's the ease of consumption now is so great and so broad that you've got regular everyday people compromising their health by trying to copy and paste what a lot of people are doing right now. And I just think it's again, like, stop trying to copy what the professionals do, right? And it should be totally 100% different.
Yeah, I just think pay attention to what you need, and I think that also the fasting, and there's a lot of underfueling and underhydrating and all these types of things that to me are long-term deals, yeah, you can suck it up. I just feel like, sometimes I get really concerned that a lot of athletes are using adrenaline for fuel. And man, that's just that's a quick way to the basement.
It's a fast way to the basement, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, is like the hormonal imbalance that we create, and just you can only tap that pool so long before it crashes, I think. So
No, I'm totally agree.
But you can do it. That's the point, right? Is like that's what I think. Some of these pros will probably just burn it. I mean, even like you look at a guy like Phelps, who just completely was probably crying half the time he went to the pool because he was so burned, but he just had so much pain or adrenaline flowing that he could just pull this shit off all the time. And then he obviously at the end he kind of came clean, and he's like, man, that was just no way to live.
That's why, I mean, 2 quick stories, and I promise we're going to get to the next question. But it's like,
do we even have a question?
What is? No, right? We do have some. One of Hayden's good friends has picked up swimming and just fallen in love with it. And they were over here at the house the other day, and his mom was talking to me about swimming, and I just said, please, like, he wants to quit baseball and start swimming year round. And I said, please allow him to swim just summer league for the next few years. Keep it fun for as long as possible, because I did the reverse. I went year round, and then I quit when I was right before I got into high school, quit, and 100% could have swam collegiately. I was a great swimmer, and I just burnt out and done. So then I swam summer league at the end, and still had fun with it. But I got back to fun later instead of starting out in fun and making my whole swimming career fun. And the next day I was talking to another mom in the neighborhood whose daughter had, I think, signed or had a couple college scholarships on the table as a sophomore at the for the high school here, and just came home one day and told her, she said, I quit. And it's just, I think, again, like, it just goes back to, how we keep and frame the seriousness of a sport that we don't get paid for and that we do for fun and we do for health. And in the scheme of things, right? Like, our overall health and what we do, right, mentally, emotionally, physically is paramount and trumps anything else. And so I just think it's, which is also why I find it just so fascinating that you got age groupers out there doping. All right, it's just a systematic problem, I think, with the human race in general, about taking shortcuts and doing things that, or not eating for significantly, just like, it's just so many different things. But I'm going to pause, not go down that rabbit hole, and I'm going to get to Jeff Lawn, top contributor.
All right, Jeff.
I love a good Robbie rant. So how do you feel about those athletes that feel the need to hit up a local pool the morning before a race because the swim is canceled?
Well, yeah, here he goes.
I feel like, no, I'm not going to rant. I feel like I've ranted enough today. More, if that's what people want to do, then how about it? I don't know that I see the point, but
well, yeah,
it's their journey. It's definitely not the same. And yes, it's a lot like that Iron Cowboy ridiculous dude who claimed he did 100 Ironman only to know that he did some of his running on the elliptical, right? So definitely not the same, right? Pool swimming is not the same as open water, so it's not the same. Just like what, Iron Cowboy, whatever his, deal was of marketing himself out there when he did some of it on an elliptical. Like, this is not the same. Do it if you wanted the distance. Do it. Just know that it's not the same. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I remember I guess it was back in one of the Louisvilles. I was down there spectating, and they got the swim canceled that morning, and a bunch of people went to the local Y or something. I went in there and watched them, and they swam, and I get it, man. I mean, like, because it's got to really take a chink out of you. You train all year, and then you want to do your first Ironman, and then suddenly it's just going to have an asterisk on it, It's just a fact. It's got to just bum the shit out of you. And, I get it. I wouldn't do it, but I wouldn't, we had the swim shortened, and at Louisville, I think it was like the next year maybe, and I kind of went ballistic on that one. So pissed off. I mean, because I know the feeling, I wasn't going to go jump in the pool or anything like that, but we just jumped in and swam like a third of the way, and I'm like, all right, well, I mean, at the very least, they could have taken us up to the top of the island, and made it like 2/3 instead of whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? Do your thing.
Yeah, seriously, do it.
Your thing.
Do what makes you feel good and makes you feel better. But actually, it'd be interesting to talk to somebody or hear from somebody who did that, and if it like satisfied them, or if they feel like they actually did it. No,
definitely not. Totally unsatisfied.
I'm sure at the time they were thinking that it would convince them, but it just can't be.
No, there's always going to be an asterisk. That's just the truth. There's going to be an asterisk by your quote unquote completion. There's this is.
They're just either it's going to be one and done, and they get it canceled. Now they got to do it again. And maybe they've gotten back into the sport and love it now. Maybe it was the best thing that ever happened.
Exactly. Next question, Amanda Whitaker. What does your ideal post-race recovery week look like? Favorite activities, food, things to avoid? What do you know your body's ready to resume training? Good question. First couple days afterwards, I don't do a single thing. I might go for a walk. Cheeseburger and fries is generally my go-to sweet spot, for sure.
Culver's.
But then, yeah, but that's right. But then after that, I start to realize that shoving terrible food down my throat when my body needs recovery and the proper fuel the most only just impacts recovery and sleep. So very similar to when like people are sick and want to eat junk food, it just prolongs the amount of time that you're sick. So walk a lot. I don't like to run at all the week after a 70.3 or 2 weeks after a full. Swimming and spinning only. And then my body doesn't really tell me when I'm ready to train. My mind does. I think I've referenced this multiple times in the last whatever 7-8 years doing this podcast, but my Ironman PR still at Ironman Arizona, which was over 12 years ago, had a PR'd huge. It was a November race. I trained all year, and I was just pumped to get back to training again. I was going to go sub 10 the next year, and was just like all gas, ready to go. Waited a week, walked up these, like, I mean, not just off. We're talking gradual stairs here, like 4% of the Conqueror YMCA in Nashville, Tennessee, and I made it all the way up to the door, opened the door, shut the door, turned around, went back to my car because I just didn't have it. The thought of getting back into training was great until the moment where I was about to actually get back into it, and I just didn't have it. So I think it's more of a mental thing. For at least for me, I know some people it's physical, but then they want to. And the best thing is not to fight it. Yes, you want to recover. You don't want to get back and pound your body. You will see a fitness bump if you do it correctly. Had a guy this morning rip off a 100-yard PR, 8 days post Ironman Lake Placid. So there's a fitness bump there, but he also has only ridden his bike once and didn't do anything else the last 8 days. So there's a fitness bump to be had as long as you recover well. But yeah, cheeseburger and fries. Maybe even a Coca-Cola Classic.
Maybe. Okay. I actually think this might be one of the better questions to think about. The reason is because how many, I coach a lot of athletes, and a lot of them sort of just, including me, it's almost like a danger area because like you said, I mean, you don't necessarily, you're high on the race, but your body's saying no. So what do you do? Because it can just put you into, and I've been in it many times because I do end up doing late season, like fall races. And then it's like, Christmas, I'll just, whatever. But I do think it's important. I mean, I've said many times with the swim, for example, I just think a race, Ironman race swim, or even a 70.3 swim is really a kickstart for making you a better swimmer. So if you can keep it going after that, at least a little bit, I think that's huge. But for me, the technique now is to find other shit that that you're enjoying. Whether it's it doesn't even have to be swim, bike, run stuff. Last year I was fortunate enough to come back from the race and have kayaks and sup boards and cold plunging and all these kind of things, and I just kind of kept active and active recovery in different ways, maybe. And I think it was a great thing. It's very difficult for me to, I typically don't get on my tri bike for months after a race. It's just difficult. Because you get done and you're just not wanting to ride it. I'm sure some people do, but for me, it's been one of those things. So I look for other things. But you're right about the comfort food. That can go a little bit far. I think it's okay. Your body's just like craving, it's probably inflamed and pain, and you just don't want to quote unquote detox that quickly. I think that's the same thing with sickness, is like you could go into healthy food, but man, that would like churn your system in a massive way. So it's probably good to have some burgers and a Coke once in a while after the race, but it depends on how you diet, I guess, in general, because that'll probably make you sicker for a lot of people. But I don't know. Just find shit that feels good, but you got to keep moving, like you're saying, walking, hiking. That's probably the best, because you can go out and you can do it. It doesn't feel like a load of work, but it's really, really good for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Next question from Trevin. How do you suggest adjusting your running zone time ranges for higher heat and humidity? Should you adjust your zones by X amount of minutes or defer to more of a running by feel method? Not 100% sure of the question here in terms of adjusting your zone by X amount of minutes. I'm not sure if you're trying to look for like a specific amount of minutes to hit in each zone per week, which I feel is not a really great way to change. It's super popular with the 80-20 plan, but that's over marketed and not applicable to a lot of people, and especially the way they format it. Running by feel is always great, but heart rate should be what you go to when you're honestly, when you're running and riding, when you're depending on like when you start to was starting to produce excess lactic acid to the rate that you can't clear it as much. Heart rate is the go-to, not pace. Like same thing, same example, like we talked about, I think maybe it was earlier this week or last week about, you could run a 140 heart rate in the winter and that might give you an 8-minute pace. You go out right now, run 40 heart rate might give you a 9.5-minute pace, right? Because it's so freaking hot and so hard to breathe. Some moisture in the air, more moisture in the air than there is oxygen some days. So yeah, I would definitely differ or move towards a RPE and heart rate. And in terms of, adjusting your zones by X amount of minutes, yeah, I definitely don't prescribe to that philosophy. I would suggest, shortening things a bit. Again, that's why I have a huge problem with the TSS score and calculation method that Training Peaks use, and really any other model uses, is, if I told, Mike to go out and run 40 minutes at 140 heart rate or whatever it is, a range of heart rate, right? It's 6 o'clock in the morning. Well, that will feel significantly different than if he works all day, heads out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 107 heat index, 75 dew point, still does 140. The recovery cost is greater. So I would not adjust zone time or even the range or the focus. I would maybe simply adjust back on time, because that tends to go more towards the recovery cost, right? And that's when you can kind of save buckets of energy for things, that you can do. Like, I've never heard an athlete ever say, "God, man, coach, I woke up way too fresh today. I mean, way too fresh. I'm crisp. I'm ready to go. I'm excited. I'm hydrated. I'm fueled." Like, I just, something's not working. No, never heard that in my life. But what you hear a lot is, "I went too hard last night and paid for it today. Not feeling it today. Legs are hard. I knew I shouldn't have done this last night, or run outside at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I know I overran. I know I didn't hydrate. I'm feeling." So what's the worst thing that can happen? You shorten your run from an hour to 45 minutes because it's hot outside and you feel great the next day? The horror, right? Oh, my Training Peaks might not be green. It might be orange, or it might be yellow. Like this, there's no, like, it's just, again, it's all about people, or not people. Triathletes specifically put so much focus on individual sessions when the goal is always, how am I adapting and how am I going to be ready to race? The race is the ultimate test, right? And the athletes put way too much stock in every single session, even a comparable session from week to week. That's the same, which I love to do, mostly because it measures fatigue. But like they put weight. This was a little bit sore than last week. Not sure. What, you got more fatigue, or it was hotter, or a different time of day, or stress was higher, or you just weren't feeling it. Like the goal is not the session, right? The goal is to is the race. The race is the ultimate test. So everything you do should be gearing you up to prepare and adapt to have the best opportunity to do your best on race day. So no, I mean, I would not adjust that. I would maybe, again, just be more mindful of the cost of what you're about to do versus the benefit of what it might yield tomorrow.
Yeah, man, I love that. The goal is not the session. I love that, because I guess my most recent example of that is yesterday running a Monogetti run, which is a ladder, 30, 45 minute and a half up and down run, all on. And then in the breaks, we say super easy or walk. And yesterday, it was hot. I love it. I'm out there sweating. And on the way up, I'd slow down and just jog between for recovery. And then on the way down, I was like, I just could tell that something wasn't on, right? And I wasn't really hitting the objective of the workout, for lack of a better word. So what I did on the way down was I started walking those breaks. And then I would get a little better performance. It was just like, I was like, I didn't want to see basically the same pace. You know what I mean? The recovery and the on. And it was kind of creeping together for me, and I didn't like that. So I just would walk and I'd get my heart rate down, and it was working. And I'd run a little bit harder, but it didn't zap me. I got done and I felt great. It's just sort of adapting. And that's what, me, I'm the king of seeing yellow in training peaks and being excited about it, because what I always feel like that just signals to me is somebody was thinking. They're using their head out there, and they either felt great and went a little bit longer, or they just didn't quite have it and they decided to cut it back for tomorrow. It's all about tomorrow. You know, it's today in the moment, tomorrow, you know.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that messaging and mindfulness is the coach's responsibility. You know, as a coach, and my athletes know this, in the same way, is like, that's is why I don't comment and praise you on every single workout of every single day, because it oversimplifies and really makes you want to expect that every day is so valuable and a real true metric of test that the coach is going to rant and rave about your ability. That's just not the case, right? So the more weight a coach puts on a workout, or even a day or two of workouts, the more weight the athlete puts on it. And then they start to look for opportunities and reasons to compare. No. And I'll just be totally truthful here. I don't care at all about a single workout or a week of workouts. I specifically care about how you race, because that is what you signed up for. That is why you hired a coach. That is the true measure of what we're doing, success or failure. The workouts are just small little pieces of the puzzle. And if we fail in you know, what do you want to do? Fail in workouts and crush the race? Or do you want to crush all your training and then fail at the race? No, everyone wants to be successful in the race. No one gets done with the race and lays a total egg and finishes, and they're sitting there in the tent. They're like, man, that was horrible. I don't know what lined up today, but you know what? Like 2 Thursdays ago, I fucking nailed my interval workout.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really I couldn't be happier. No, like that's not, it doesn't work like that. So like, again, athletes make way too much and put way too much stock in single workouts and even a week of workouts. Right. And that's why that's why it's so important, I think, for coaches to keep, because there's a few athletes that I program just their swimming, and then they have other coaches. And it's like sometimes, and I'm sure my athletes hate this and they wish I would just be more of a pom-pom megaphone guy, but yeah, that's not who you signed up for. And it's just like 7 sentences of like emoji hands and exclamation points. And I'm like, oh my God, like, you do a 30-minute run and it's like you're being presented with an award. It's just part of the fucking process. Like, this is what we do. Like it's like getting back from a 45-minute run every day and getting a participation ribbon from your coach. Like, thanks. I mean, no, we're going for the race. We're going to get like really, really, really good. And sometimes that leads to like hard conversations with athletes when they ask about, you know, why are we doing this now? Or why am I doing so much this? And I'm like, well, because that we're getting ready for your race. You know, I know your friends might be doing, but don't care. Like, this is what we need to do. Why are we swimming 3,000 yards in February? Well, because, you know, I want you to win races in the spring, in the summer when it matters. And so, or why aren't you commenting on this? I'm like, well, what do you want? Right. I want you to race well. And as long as you race well, then you're happy. Because again, if you go back to, you know, for athletes, it's again, just another example, like you get done with the race and you absolutely dominate it and you get done and you're like, yeah, I know I crushed this race, but there were a few weeks there where I only got like 3 or 4 comments from my coach on my training. I'm not really happy with how today went. No, they don't care. All they care about is getting better, getting faster, and getting ready for race day. So, yeah, I'm not even sure how we got derailed over here, but here we are.
No, you're right, though. I mean, it's, we care about the race, and we care about the person's health too, you know, and their, because it can, you know, we've seen it. It can quickly turn into a downward spiral. And you talk about not burning matches. You definitely don't want to burn them on a, you know, Wednesday, 3 months out. You know, you got so much in you. And for me, it's like always wanting to feel the best I've felt on race day. So how do you get there? It's not by digging holes all the time and trying to dig out of them. Because if you got 100% of a match to burn, you want to have as much of that left on race day, as far as I'm concerned. Because I'll take my chances. You don't want to be just shelled leading into a race. I mean, you trained your ass off, and now you had nothing to, because when you're physically drained like that, it really impacts you mentally too. So, and I always think the race is so mental, and you got to just kind of, I was thinking about like some of my better rides, and I'm like, how the hell did I do that? And I just know it was because I was able to flip the switch, because when you're out there on an Ironman ride or run or swim, whatever, but you have to, in training, I'll just kind of take breaks and, just whatever, but you just have to be on. And that doesn't mean like full gas. It just means you have to be taking advantage of everything you can. And a lot of times that becomes a deep breath. All right, suck it up one more time and get through this section or whatever it might be. And if you're physically tired and mentally tired, you just lose it. Mile 80 or mile 90, it's gone. And all of a sudden you just see that whole pace just drop because you're giving up opportunities. So yeah.
I love it. Let's see. What's another good one in here? Robin Hefferman. Need to knows about Louisville 70.3, 3 weeks away. Well, I've never done Louisville 70.3. No one has. It is going to be hot. Shocker. The swim is going to be non-wetsuit legal. Not a shocker. The Ohio River is probably comparable to what they just swam in for the Olympics. The bike course is one of my favorite bike courses. It is very similar to Wisconsin. Rolling, pinchers, no long sustained climbs, enough to keep you engaged, but also enough an opportunity to where you're going to burn your biscuits. And I think the run is going to be absolute carnage. I think the run is going to be absolute carnage. It is going to be the hardest run that they've ever had there. And the half marathon portion, the course, has more elevation than the old full did. So you combine that with the extremely hot part of the day and a 70.3 where people traditionally go at a higher intensity, and it's going to be a total walk fest. It's going to be, better not be for my athletes, but it's going to be a total walk fest because people are going to absolutely burn their biscuits. They're going to get out of the water with no wetsuit, and they're going to see a quick time more than likely because of the downstream current, or they might be shocked and see a slower time because it's a river doesn't mean you're going to get, a tremendous amount of extra help. And then they're going to go out and think, I'm going to PR today. And they're going to go crush the bike. And then they're going to be absolutely smoked for the run. My biggest advice would be try to stay cool from an hour before you even get in the water. Ice cold water down your neck, water over your chest. I bet you that river's probably low to mid 80s by the time it's time for race day. So be ready on the bike, stay cool, and then just do and be as smart as you can with the run. But it's going to be, people are going to absolutely smoke themselves. I can't wait to be there. We got, I don't know, I think we have like 70 athletes racing. It's going to be it's going to be amazing. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be hot, but you know that. So fueling, pacing, understanding your limits, and then really, again, it's all about the run. It always is, and always will, forever will be about no matter what race it is. But start saving energy. And again, the biggest thing, and we always give this lesson before Texas, is it's not about how do I get cool once I'm hot. It's how can I avoid getting overheated for as long as, because once you overheat, like no one says in the heat of summer that been outside for like, you know what, I'm getting really hot. I'm just going to stay outside, but I'm just going to walk for a little bit. No, everyone wants to go inside the freaking air conditioning. But you don't have that luxury when you're on course. You have to walk in the more than likely, 90, 95-degree heat. That's the only way to even remotely try to get your core temp down. It is that race is going to be all about how long I can stay cool and how long can I keep my core temp down, which again, the higher your intensity, the quicker and more rapidly your core temp is going to go up. And if your core temp's up and your energy level higher, it's also very hard to consume calories and fluid, and because that also takes. So it's gonna be interesting. Great race, great venue. 4th Street Live's one of my favorite finishes in all of North America. But yeah, I mean that would be my bits of advice for a course I've technically never done, but very very familiar with the location, the city, and the bike course, the swim course, and know a lot about the run course because I've had athletes do a half marathon on that course before, and it's going to be very very challenging, but you're going to do great, Robin. You got this.
Yeah, I was just kind of looking at it again. The bike will. Well, first of all, the swim is going to be downstream, but it's behind that island for about 800-900 yards. Won't be as effective, or the current won't be as strong probably back there, but it'll still be there. But like everything, you want to. It is going to be hot, Start that. I would start. I mean, just be careful starting that thing, and then when you get on that bike, it looks like River Road for the first 10 miles, and then you'll get out into the hills and do some hills for a while, and then come back in. And my thought is just like, it's so tempting just to hammer down on the way in. Just kind of be relaxed, I think, coming back in on River Road and just be under control instead of just because you're going to be so hot, man. When you get, that's the only race, of course, that was the full, but that I've gotten off the bike and absolutely just felt like I was going to melt. I mean, I didn't even feel it necessarily on the bike. So I always say it's just like, you got to hit every aid station with water on the bike, just get it all over you, cool down. And like you said, man, that run is, it's going to get hot quick when you get off that bike.
Yep. That's going to be
really
hot. A scorcher.
Like, it's just like unpredictable. You can't even, don't even see it coming, and then it'll just hit you. So just be patient at the beginning of that bike. That run, I would just seriously try to get shit under control on River Road on the way back in, because you're going to want to hammer it.
Exactly. Yep. Stay calm, stay calm, stay calm, stay calm, stay calm. And as much as you can do that, and as for as long as you can do that, the better. Because again, like you said, once you don't know like how hot you are until it's too late. And then there's no going back to cooling yourself off unless you start walking, and then you're just purging time. So yeah, it's going to be a master class in patience and cooling.
Yeah, I would grab a water bottle at that last aid station, douse myself, and get another one for the ride in.
For sure.
Put one in your empty. Get rid of all your bottles except their last nutrition, and just be ready to like slowly cool yourself the whole last 10 miles or whatever.
And I would take a bottle. I would encourage everybody to run with a bottle. You don't need a handheld, but just run with a bottle that you can shove ice and water in it. If anything, just to keep you cool. That's it. Period. Just to keep you cool. Back of your neck, your face, your chest, just to keep you cool. Because if you can get that at 880, you'd be surprised how much lower your RPE is with even just like, again, and then hold ice in your hands. You have a water bottle that's cold in one hand, ice in your other hand, ice in your kit, just to keep yourself cool, and maybe to have a little cold water to drink, right, to help keep your core temp down. Like you got to stay cool. Because again, but I don't want to waste time, at the aid station walking to refill. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but you're gonna be wondering why you don't have water when you're walking between miles 8 and miles 9 aid station and you're thirsty. And you want to talk about losing time. It's gonna be all about cooling. And guess what? If you aren't overheated at mile 8, then pick up the pace and skip the aid stations. But I doubt that's gonna happen. And don't share. If someone asks for water, they're like, yeah, I told you, you should listen to the podcast. They said carry a water bottle. Podcast 786. give it a listen. But yeah, that's it. Stay as cool as long as possible. And again, pace correctly, and hopefully you've been doing some work in the sauna, in the steam room, maybe some hot water immersion, or just getting out in the sun and doing some easy training. Again, I don't recommend doing your intensity outside right now. You can still want to get faster, but it's all about exposure. Go mow the lawn in the heat of the day. Go take a walk in the heat of the day. Just don't take your dog with you. That's another huge pet peeve of mine in the summer. People out there with their dogs like 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm like, what are you doing?
Well, yeah, I'm with
don't
you.
Dogs like that. Like, keep them inside. Even me, Waffles, he can barely make it a mile right now. We go out at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Wintertime, 4 to 6 miles, no problem. Right now, can barely breathe. So do your dogs right, okay?
Do your dog. This whole last segment's a good way to end it, because I feel like that's transferable to most races. So keep that stuff in mind.
Exactly. That's it. That's all we got. It's a Friday. We're signing off. We got more work to do, and so do you. Have a great weekend. As always, we appreciate you. We love you guys. Go to our website, c26triathlon.com, and is our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. If you need anything from Mike, he's available. Mike at c26triathlon.com. Or if you need anything from me specifically, I'm at Robbie at c26triathlon.com.
All right, man. Go enjoy the weekend, buddy.
Man, see you later.
See ya.